And welcome back. Today we are talking about grief and how children process this strong emotion. Joining me today is Jocelyn De La Rosa, the Executive Director of Family Support Centers in Salt Lake City. Thank you so much for joining us yet again on this Wednesday.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, so Jocelyn, this is again another important topic for our kids, grief. Tell us then, what is grief? How do we want to define it today?
Grief is an acute sense of pain. Grief is mostly based on love. Having a sense of loss for something that we love.
And I like how we said earlier, it's a big emotion. So as adults, grief can be so difficult to navigate, but then you put it in the perspective of a little child, this can be very difficult. So tell us then, why do children grieve?
There's the first thing when you think of grief is always death. That's the first one that comes to mind, but there's different types of grief. Death being one, maybe the loss of a pet, a divorce, a friend moving away, or your child's moving to a different school, even their environment. Grieving, when we were in lockdown, not being able to go outside and play with friends. So their surroundings can also be grief.
Isn't it amazing to think of a child's life and how much they don't have control of, because we as parents typically have so much control of that like any sort of change in a small or big way could be felt with some sort of grief emotion. Trying to put myself in their perspective, I'm always trying to do that, because something that wouldn't be a big deal for us might be a big deal for our kids.
Yeah, exactly.
We talked about how do children grieve then. You touched on this a little bit, but let's talk about some of the ways that they show that they're in a grieving process.
Yeah, it might look different for kids depending on their age group, but sometimes like smaller children will be playing and then crying and then go from crying to playing again. As an adult, you're like, how can they switch so easily between crying and playing? Right. But a lot of the times kids use play as a way to go through their emotions and work through emotion. Other ways is when they might have some lack of motor skills. Maybe they were talking but now they're not talking as much. Wet bedding, maybe they were potty trained and are regressing. And you can see some physical symptoms as an adult, stomach aches, headaches, just signs of anxiety.
So maybe things, if you know your child has gone through some sort of change or loss, to keep these in mind, that if these things are happening, this could easily be pointing to the fact that they're in a grieving process. Again, that just helps, I think, offer as a parent how we should help in that situation, help that child. Let's talk about how caregivers, whether it's the parent or outside caregivers, how can they support a child grieving?
Being mindful, checking in with them regularly, how are you feeling, how was school today? Sometimes we might not realize that a child is grieving, or the child might not realize that they are grieving themselves. And just saying some phrases like, it's okay to be sad. Those are really big emotions. Sometimes when children are grieving, they might act out or have meltdowns. And so being mindful of that might be a sign of them showing or having an outlet, because they don't have other ways to show it. As an adult, we have developed coping mechanisms. Right. And
hopefully.
Hopefully.
That's that, right? We're trying, but sometimes you wonder.
Yeah, and so as kids, they might not have some of those coping. And as a parent also, trying to, therapy is always a great option. And then if it is a death or a divorce, finding grief groups that specialize in that type of loss.
Okay, so specifically, we have you coming on Wednesdays, for those who are tuning in and followed the pattern here. Talk about, again, then, outside of grief, just what the Family Support Centers of Salt Lake City, what that offers to families for those who may not be familiar with what the centers do.
Yeah, Family Support Centers, we have crisis nurseries, which are centers where you can come and drop off your children for respite or where you're needing a break. So it's great if you're going to therapy appointments, doctor's appointments, any legal appointments, or you just need a break. And then we also offer therapy at a low cost or for free.
Okay, and the tips that we heard here today from you, Jocelyn, this is where people can learn about how to parent as well, right? You have a website here, utahfamilies.org, people can go to for more resources, correct?
Yep, and we also actually offer a parenting class. And we have an in-person parenting class throughout the state of Utah, and then we have virtual options as well. Okay,
thank you so much again for your time on this Wednesday. We appreciate it. We look forward to next week. And again, all of this information, this interview is on our website, abc4.com.